The Rat King's Heist by Dr. Jonathan Schuma. In the heart of Lusaka, where the air is thick with ambition and the streets are buzzing with the pulse of everyday life, there lived three friends, Kwesi, Tembo, and Shibwe. Raised in the harsh, unyielding world of poverty, they all shared one dream: to escape, to be more than what their circumstances allowed, to be powerful, to be rich. It started with petty crimes, small-time pickpocketing in the busy markets, tricking tourists in the heart of the city. But that wasn't enough. The hunger grew. It wasn't long before they began dabbling in darker practices, seeking shortcuts through witchcraft, desperate to unlock the kind of wealth that only seemed to exist in the dreams of the rich. And then they found it, the magic that would make them more than ordinary thieves. They would turn into rats, slipping past the world's watchful eyes. They would be able to infiltrate the most secure vaults and escape unnoticed. With that power, they could steal what they had always craved. What they didn't realize, however, was that the darkness they sought would eventually consume them. Trust would break, loyalties would crack, and no amount of magic could stop the consequences of their greed. Chapter 1: The Catalyst. Kwesi was always the ambitious one. From a young age, he had dreamt of wealth, of power, of standing on top of the world. But his friends, Tembo and Shibwe, were different. Tembo was the daring one, brave with a touch of recklessness. Shibwe, the quiet one, was cautious, often questioning the methods and motives of their plans. But together they formed an unbreakable bond. They had started small, stealing wallets from unsuspecting pedestrians, lifting purses from crowded buses, their eyes always scanning for easy targets. But as their skill and audacity grew, so did their ambitions. One night, while sitting in a small bar in Lusaka, Kwesi leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with an idea that would change everything. "We need more than this," Kwesi said. "This life, picking pockets, it's beneath us. There's more to this world. We need power." Tembo, always eager for the next thrill, leaned in. "What do you have in mind?" Kwesi's voice dropped to a whisper. "Magic, real magic, the kind that can make us unstoppable. I know someone who can help us." The someone he referred to was an old witch doctor, a figure of whispered legend in Lusaka's underground circles. Known only as Mbuzi, he was rumored to have powers that defied nature. Desperation and greed led the trio to seek him out. Mbuzi's dark eyes had gleamed when they asked for his help. "What you seek is not a gift," he warned them. "It is a curse in disguise. But for the right price, I will grant you power beyond your imagination." He offered them a potion that would turn them into rats, small, agile creatures that could slip through cracks, avoiding detection by any security system. The magic was powerful, dangerous, and irrevocable. But in their desperation, they accepted. Chapter 2: The Heist. Armed with their newfound magic, the trio embarked on their first major heist, the Lusaka Bank, known for its unbreachable vault and impenetrable security system. They spent weeks preparing, learning every inch of the building, every shadow and crack where they could slip through unnoticed. The night of the heist, they transformed. Small and nimble, they scurried through the city's sewer system and into the heart of the bank. No cameras could capture them. No alarms could sound their presence. They squeezed through tiny gaps in walls, entered the vault undetected, and took what they had longed for: money, gold, diamonds, the wealth of the world, now theirs for the taking. They were untouchable. Chapter 3: The Betrayal. But the magic they had so eagerly embraced began to take its toll. As they pulled off their heist after heist, stealing from banks, businesses, and wealthy elites, the cost of their greed became more apparent. Tembo, once a daring accomplice, began to relish the power too much. He wanted more wealth, more power, more control. Kwesi, ever the leader, sought to expand their empire, using the magic as a means to secure their place at the top. But it was Shibwe, the quiet one, who began to feel the weight of their choices. The magic had changed them. Their humanity was slipping away. Chibwe could no longer ignore the guilt gnawing at him. The dark power they had used was corrupting them, turning them into something less than human. He could feel the rat inside him, clawing at his soul, whispering for more. One evening, as the trio counted their latest haul, Chibwe snapped. He left the den, his heart heavy with regret, and made a decision that would tear everything apart. He went to the authorities. Chapter 4: The Fall. The authorities were initially baffled. How could anyone pull off such elaborate heists? No one had ever seen the thieves. Not even the security systems had captured them. But Chibwe's betrayal provided the missing link. He leaked the details, the magic, the transformation into rats, the escape through cracks and vents. He described how they had infiltrated the vaults, how the magic had made them untouchable. Kweshi and Tembo were arrested and thrown into separate cells. The authorities were confident they had cracked the case. But something strange began to happen. Despite the guards' tight security, despite the high-tech prison systems, the two men vanished from their cells. No trace, no evidence. The three friends had disappeared. Chapter 5: The Return of the Rats. Weeks later, a new heist struck the city. This time, a rival tech company had been raided. Their vaults emptied overnight. The treasures gone. The authorities immediately connected the dots. The magic, the rats, the untraceable nature of the heist. It all pointed back to Kweshi, Tembo, and Chibwe. But how could they have escaped? How had they vanished? The search was on, yet no one could find them. Whispers began to spread that the three had learned to manipulate their magic even further, vanishing into the shadows and reappearing in new locations, pulling off heists with an unmatched precision. Their fame grew, an underground legend of the Rat Kings, thieves who could slip through the cracks of society, untouched and unstoppable. Chapter 6: The Price of Power. But magic always comes at a price. As the days turned to weeks and weeks to months, the trio began to feel the consequences of their dark pact. The transformation grew harder to reverse. Their appearances began to shift, more rat-like with each passing day. Their minds, once sharp and focused, grew hazy, clouded by their insatiable desire for more. Their humanity faded, leaving behind only the hollow shell of the thieves they once were. And still, they continued to rob. But now each heist seemed like a desperate attempt to fill an emptiness they couldn't understand. One fateful night, they attempted to rob a luxury casino in Livingston. They had planned it meticulously, but this time something went horribly wrong. The magic began to unravel. In the midst of their transformation, they were confronted by a figure from their past, Mbuzi, the witch doctor who had given them the power in the first place. "You thought you could escape the price," Mbuzi said, his voice a mixture of mockery and sorrow. "But there is always a cost. Now you are no longer men. You are rats, trapped in your own greed." The legend lives on. To this day, the trio's legend persists in the shadows of Lusaka. Whispers of the Rat Kings circulate among thieves, criminals, and even the authorities. Some say they are dead, consumed by the magic they once controlled. Others say they still walk among us, hiding in plain sight, always one step ahead of the law. The trail of their heist remains unbroken, and the curse of their ambition continues to haunt them, a reminder of the price that must be paid for power.